So we had ended here, basically, where we were talking about the physical and psychological changes linked to aging. So we had talked about early adulthood, we had talked about male adulthood, what changes occur then, and there's late adulthood also, uh, at around the age of 65 and above, when we enter the late adulthood. And this is the final stage of physical changes. There are more profound changes that happen, um, and in terms of the negative effects. Okay. And here, if you have your nature, for instance, if by nature, I mean, again, hereditary. So if by genetics you are not prone to develop diseases, and nurture, by nurture I mean that what environment you get when you're growing up, when you're developing, if those are positive, it has a positive impact on your your physical changes. So there are two main physical concerns that we had discussed yesterday, coming towards late adulthood. It's loss of bone mass, and second is loss of cognition. So you start forgetting things and you start injuring yourself. You have more broken bones, for instance, if you fall. There are more heart diseases, diabetes is more often, you're malnourished. Um, so this was LO learning outcome 3 that we are discussing. So there's some psychological and emotional developmental changes also. So these changes will be more noticeable than the physical changes in early adulthood. And this is an important stage in adult emotional and psychological development. And it's they're important decisions when we make, and we find our place and our independence, um, in the world that we live in. One of the largest aspects of this period is relationships. Okay, so if we have positive relationships, it has a positive impact on us. Negative relationships obviously have negative impacts on us, which will remain for the rest of our lives with us. Okay, so I'm sharing an example over here with you. So let's imagine the difference in emotional and psychological state of the following three scenarios. So there are three scenarios that I'll discuss here. So the first one is where Bob is 27 years old and is focused on the development of his career. He's highly successful in his job. He's got a few close friends, but he has less time for intimate relationships. Okay. So he's very career oriented. Shirley is 33 years old, has two young children. She is married, her college sweetheart, but they were unable to work out the marriage. And she has a friendly relationship with her ex-husband, who is supportive of her, of the children. And we have Joe, who is 30 years old and married to his high school sweetheart again. They have one 11-year-old son. He began working just after high school to support his family. Joe is now spending his evenings attending community college. Uh, my question from you is, who do you think is in the best emotional and psychological state according to these three scenarios? Any idea? Muting my mic so that I can hear you all clearer.
Joe has more capacity because
Yeah,
he's
because
settled with his wife, and
hmm
he's attending community college, which keeps him busy. So Joe
very
have
good.
more advantage.
Yeah. So while these two people, they have had like good careers, they've got children, Shirley has children. However, they've got traumatic relationships, which then impact their, um, even if their career is very impactful and they're very, sort of, um, they're productive at their work, but they don't have a very stable life, family life. So that impacts your work as well. In the longer run, you will be psychologically distressed and emotionally distressed, and that has an impact on your relationships also. So, Yeah, so work stability matters, but the most important is where do you go back from your home, from your work. So it's your home where you go back to, and that refreshing experience at your home has to be there. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to cope. Finally, we have entered late adulthood, and you have obviously you have retired, you have grown up children who you don't have to worry for their diapers, for everything else that's going on, for the school runs. There are fewer responsibilities. However, you're closing very close to your mortality, like it or not. And there's social isolation also. You're at a greater risk of becoming depressed and lonely because obviously, when you're not working, you don't have that social interaction. You have social interactions otherwise outside workplace, outside home, but those are not as frequent as they are earlier. And also because you are less mobile, you tend to mingle less. Obviously, but if you're going out, you're at a risk of injuring yourself. You lose ways. You're more dependent compared to being independent. So there's a greater risk of becoming depressed and lonely because of this, because of social isolation. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. So most likely this is loss. There's loss of, you also lose your activity. So you feel that you're not as productive as you were before. That has a depressing impact on some people. And so if you have family bonds, it's very important to keep them and staying active in the community, to have a positive emotional and psychological well-being during late adulthood. Now I'm going on to explain lifestyle choices associated with aging. So there are different ways where your your the aging that you go through will impact your different systems. So your teeth, your heart, your sexuality, all of that is going to change with aging. So your cardiovascular system, it's the most common change happens here. So there's your blood vessels or the arteries and the veins in your blood, in your system, in your cardiovascular system, they become stiff. They're not um, as flexible or as expansile as they were. So they're not expanding to their best, and they become stiff. Everything in your body becomes stiff, isn't it? So your heart muscles, when the heart pumps blood, and it pumps blood for the blood to go through the vessels, through the blood vessels. Okay. Now, if the blood vessels are not working properly and are not they're not uh, flexible enough to take in um, that blood, the heart has to go through a lot of effort to pump against that resistance. Okay, so the load on the heart is increased a lot because of a lot of pooling of blood, because all that blood can't go through the blood vessels. So your heart at rest will stay about the same, but when you're doing activities, when you're moving around, it doesn't stay the same. And this increases the tension in your on your heart, on your blood vessels, and that is called hypertension, high blood pressure. Okay, so you would require medications. Your bones, your joints, they become very fragile. They shrink in size. Again, there's shrinking, there's loss of density, there's weakening. You might fall off, you might have fractures. There's less of flexibility. Your digestive system also becomes less um, motile. So your large intestine, it has less motility. So if there's less motility, it makes the food, if it digests your food very late. Okay, so if there's less digestion, and if you're eating also a low fiber diet, for instance, and not having enough fluids because your kidneys are also weak, they can't take in a lot of fluids, and you're on other medications, this may cause constipation. Diabetes may happen. You may be on certain medication. Um, that may also contribute to constipation and increasing your distress. Your bladder and your urinary tract also becomes mm, not the way, it doesn't function the way it used to. So your bladder muscles are weaker, your pelvic floor muscles become weaker, and it becomes difficult for you to empty your bladder completely, and you lose control of your bladder, and that's called urinary incontinence. Okay, so in men, it's sometimes there's an inflammation or an enlargement of the prostate gland, which can cause difficulty emptying the bladder and incontinence. So the prostate gland is a gland that is responsible for it's found in men, and it's a gland that tends to become hypertrophied or increases its size, and there where it impinges or it presses against your urethra from where your urine comes out. So it if it's compressing that place, you can't pass your urine properly. Other factors are overweight, nerve damage from diabetes, certain medications, caffeine, or alcohol consumption, which may impact your bladder and urinary tract control. Your memory and thinking skills, as I said, it goes down. Your brain undergoes changes as you age that may have minor effects on your memory or thinking. Some healthy older adults might forget names, places. That is why they don't go out much. They don't mingle with people. They tend to remain isolated because they tend to forget things. Eyes and ears. So you start hearing less properly. You start seeing less properly. Your eyes could have changes like cataracts. So your eyes, the lens within your eyes, they become dense, and that has an impact on your seeing capacity. Um, your hearing diminishes. You might need a hearing aid at times. Your teeth become very weak because it's the calcium overall in your body that is lowered. There are certain medications that treat allergies, asthma, and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Um, and as a result, your teeth and your gums might become slightly more vulnerable to decay. Okay. Your skin. So your skin may have wrinkles with time. Uh, this means that your skin, sorry for that. Your skin may lose its elasticity. Yeah, where were we? Sorry. Okay. So your skin loses its elasticity. You may have problems like um, you have wrinkles, but you have natural oils that become less in your skin, and it makes your skin drier. And your thin skin becomes thinner, less elastic, as I said, more fragile. So you're hurting yourself more. Your weight, it changes. So you might, your metabolism as your food, the food that you take in, um, how much you burn your food or how much energy you produce because of that food, that becomes lower because you're not moving much. Okay. So if you move much, you move enough, your metabolism is okay and your weight remains okay. But with the decrease in your activities because of less socialization or um, yeah, less of work and less of responsibilities, you tend to gain more weight. Uh, there is a need to be active in this age, um, and eat healthy. Now, there are effects of the physical changes associated with aging that have an impact on self-esteem and self-confidence. We know that it lowers your self-esteem and self-confidence. There are illnesses that can cause people to lose their confidence, that prevents them from taking part in activities that they used to earlier. Their skin elasticity decreases. You might have wrinkles, and that's not a very pleasant thing to have. You can lose your self-confidence, begin to consider having cosmetic surgery. Some of them do have it. as they age because they want to feel comfortable when they want to socialize with people. Um, so hearing and loss of vision, we've talked about this earlier. So how do you tell that a person has lost, um, has decreased their hearing, has less hearing with time? So they want the television louder. They want people to speak louder to them. They want things to be repeated. They talk themselves loudly also. That is how we gauge that, okay, there's a person who has loss of hearing. uh, People can become disengaged and shut off from others, and their self confidence becomes low. So this is how it impacts your self confidence. Vision can also deteriorate. You're having to be frustrated, and this obviously impacts your life. You can't see properly, you can't drive in the places where you used to drive. You are not being able to meet friends and family because of this problem. So this also has an impact. um, Evaluating the influence on of lifestyle choices. So what are lifestyle choices that you have with aging? So um, aging is advancing in years, and advancing in years and aging are not the same. Okay, so advancing in years is what happens in regards to the calendar, so it's the calendar period. However, aging depends upon our body. Okay, so aging can happen in people who are very young also, because of trauma, because of the certain conditions. So let's say a person who is on high medication, they may look may look older, or they may age more quickly, although they are young, compared to the calendar year. Okay, so we have no control over the calendar. We will be 32, 33, 34, 35. That is how we won't go reverse. But aging can be reversed, or can be stopped, or can accelerate. So there are five stages of aging process. So independence, interdependence, dependency, crisis management, and end of life. I think there's yeah, just these two slides. So independence is when aging, the individual is capable of handling daily life activities, including their finances, their transportation, and everyday tasks such as meal preparation, managing medications, etc. Interdependence is when uh, daily tasks are more difficult and assistance is needed for meal preparation, transportation, managing medication, etc. Dependency is very hard. So daily tasks are not manageable and you need assistance. That is when you need a carer, you need family around. Um, you need to monitor the safety and well-being of that individual. Crisis management is constant monitoring, okay? And they need very quick access to medical care. And then there's end of life, um, in which you need to give them the respect of where they want the end of life to happen. There are three types of aging. These were the aging processes. So, three types of aging are biological, psychological, and social. This is the last slide. So, lifestyle changes. What should you do for your lifestyle changes in order to avoid aging? So, um, eat a healthy diet, exercise regularly, avoid tobacco use and other drugs, maintain a healthy life, healthy weight, establish healthy sleeping habits, moderate alcohol consumption, staying mentally sharp, and intentional socialization. So, this is the end of this class. I'll start sharing my next slides. Okay, so are there any questions related to the first presentation, learning outcome 3, before we start the learning outcome 4? So learning outcome 4, hopefully we will try and complete. If not, we will then have next weekend, which will be Saturday, which is the 1st of January. 1st of February, sorry. And we will have our assignment discussion then, because I'm hopeful that we will be able to complete our assignment as well as like our assignment discussion as well as our remaining lecture. Okay, I hope you can see my slides. If there are no questions, I'm proceeding with the fourth and the
Hello.
last learning outcome for today. Yeah, do you have a question?
No, no question per se. I don't know if you can please send the link of the last class on the group. I don't know, it's just a played.
I didn't get you. What were you saying? Sorry.
I'm asking if can you please send the recorded video we just ended now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can. So if you have any questions, we'll take them at the end. We just yeah, the slides will be shared with you on the week on Monday, hopefully. Okay. So we're talking about now about human growth and development. So here we want to understand the effect of transitions and significant life events. Okay, so the learning outcome is to understand the effect of transitions and significant life events in one's life. So this is some of the indicative content that we will cover. Transitions and significant life events across life stages, the impact that transitions and significant life events may have, health and social care practitioner in supporting individuals during transition and the role of significant life events, the impact of person-centered approaches on the support provided by practitioners to individuals experiencing transition and significant life events. So we'll be discussing more or less about these. Yeah. So the key terminologies, some of them are that what are life transitions? So according to research, life transition is like you start your transition right from school. So you're getting out of the house, you're starting your transition, getting into school, learning about the environment there. Um, you're it can have a serious impact, obviously, on children. Um, Even when you're starting a new university, you're starting a new job, you're adjusting to chronic illnesses, they may have serious impacts on your general health and well-being. Adjusting to these changes is important. So this is what life transitions is about. So there's some transitions here. So across your life stages. So a transition is a period of change. As you say, no trans is change. So so if there are positive impacts on this during these transitions, you have a good impact. So whatever the transition may be, if you have positive support during these transitions, your transition becomes very smooth. However, if you have these transitions may have a negative impact on you. Even a slight transition may have a negative impact on you if you don't have enough support. Uh, so this figure shows exactly this, that if you have the care available, it's easy for you to transition. And planning is also important during transition. So there are different types of transition or life events that may uh, take place. So these may have, there are 4 types of transition basically. So there's emotional, physical, psychological transition, and intellectual transition. Every part is very important. So from crawling to walking, that's an example of a transition. So that's emotional and physical transition. The child starts sitting in an upright position, uh, and they start walking then. This step is very important in our life, and when parent can't see this step, it can emotionally it has an emotional impact on the child, and at later ages. Moving from one class to another is another transition. Having new friends is a transition. So if they're happy, if they have positive relationships, even these severe transitions can feel very positive, can feel very uh, very smooth. And then adoption, for instance. So a child is adopted, that's a new transition. If they're going from um, disturbed family and they're going to a stable family, that's a good transition if they've got the support. If they've not got it, that becomes difficult then for them. Some of the impacts. So bereavement has in its own it is a transition. So people who have bereavement, um, it's misfortune, and there are examples like people go through divorces, they lose their job, their illnesses. These are all examples of transitions. And um, so I want you to have a discussion on this. So this is just take a picture of this this slide. So we'll discuss this in our next class, if that's okay. And I'll ask you your views upon this, on this impact on transition. Okay, I hope you've taken a picture. Otherwise, I'll send a picture in the group. Uh, so this is all about this. We'll talk about these impacts. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So the discussion is all around this topic. Okay. Um, so I will, let me just check out the time, because I don't want to rush through this, because, okay, we still have time. Please kindly send us the picture of on the, I will do that. Okay. I want you to discuss this amongst yourselves, and then we can have a discussion when we meet next time. Now we are going on to explain the role of health and social care practitioners in supporting individuals during transition. So that role is, it's a very important role. And these people help the transition to become smoother. Okay, so if you have support, you have support workers, you have practitioners who help you with disabilities, you have them during your emergencies, you have policies and procedures in place, that makes your transition, whatever the transition may be, it makes it very smooth for you during your significant life events. If compared to a person who has no support and has learning disabilities, so it becomes very hard for them. um, so what's the role of a health and social care worker? So they play a very profound role in your in people around them. So they're following these few roles. There are a lot more, but some of them are to provide care for family members in a certain need situation, uh, care for individuals facing trouble or conflict in various relationships, people facing challenges of old age, individuals with mental disabilities or distresses, addicts of alcohol or other drugs, physically disabled, people having independence issues and facing isolation from the society, people with financial issues struggling to get to survive. The social workers have the right to intervene in the family or private life. So whenever there are people who have children who have emotional shortcomings, children with special needs, adults needing to establish their independence and dignity again, and also old men and women. So these are places where social workers can support and have the right to intervene. Okay. Uh, so what I'll do is I will stop here now. Has anyone got any questions? Because there's a lot to cover. What I'll do is that we will cover these slides till 21. I don't want to rush through them because I know uh, I have to talk a lot about them. So has anyone got any questions? I'll just pause recording here, stop recording. Has anyone got any questions so far?